All right, so let's dive into today, what happened to the market, and then proceeding to what can happen the rest of this week and tomorrow, and so on and so forth. I also want to go over news that I saw, which I thought was very interesting and could really be a big deal. That I think has gone kind of under the radar. And let's start with that. Let's start with the news first, and it's this one. And this one was, to me, seemed like a big deal. And the reason I say it's a big deal, basically China halts critical mineral and magnet exports to the US, basically rare earth metals that China kind of has a big monopoly on. They own basically 90% of the production of these rare earth metals. Now, the name is a little bit deceiving. Rare earth isn't really quite rare. Pretty much most countries have these rare earth metals. It's just China owns the ability to refine it at a large scale, hence why they own about 90% of this market. Don't get me wrong, there are other countries that also do refine rare earth metals, but China just does it better, and hence why they have 90% of that market share. So that's a very big deal, because if China is saying, hey, let's stop exporting, well, they're starting with 6 heavy rare earth metals, as well as rare earth magnets, right? If they are stopping this is not that great for the US, especially because these rare earth metals are used for semiconductors, electric motors, manufacturing jet engines, lasers, car headlights, and basically a lot of other stuff. And that's gonna be a problem, right? Because that's going to basically increase the cost across the board. But US is going to have a hard time accessing these rare earth metals now that the main source is gone. Now they have two options, right? They can either talk with another country and get their help and negotiate with them and take care of that stuff, or they can somehow find a way to refine rare earth metals within the US and do it that way, which is kind of not possible at a very fast pace. It will take time for the US to do that. So the best case is either find a way to work out things with China, or find another country and work out with them. So I thought this was a pretty interesting thing. I was kind of, to me, this seems like a really good way for China to retaliate as a way to deal with US and all of their tariffs. So this whole trade war is going to continue. It's gonna be a big problem. One of the thing I saw, I wish I could find it in Twitter, but I saw Elon Musk reply to a tweet about this, where he was talking about how it's not that big of a deal, but the only thing that is a big deal is the fact that China owns majority of the refining process. They're able to refine at a mass pace, or a mass scale, not pace. I wish I could find it, but yeah, like you can go ahead and search for it. I think it was a reply to one of the tweets from a news outlet. But yeah, basically he was talking about how it's not really going to impact Tesla in a significant way, which I find to be, I guess, if he knows better than me. I mean, I can't really say, but it does seem like, I mean, to be honest, rare earth metals are very important for EVs. So I would say the cost of EVs are going to go up as well because of this. So I don't know. I don't quite agree with him, but then again, we'll see. Who knows? That's a really cool car. But again, you get the idea. You can do some research on it yourself. I just thought that that news seemed pretty interesting. Moving on, let's go over the market. I want to kind of go over SPY and then talk about what I'm expecting. So yesterday's video, which I posted, you can go ahead and check that out. I was talking about Trump's tweet and whatnot, but essentially I talked about what SPY was going to do and what I thought was potentially the next move. I talked about how we had this bit of an inside day candle that was created with this red candle, basically big green candle, and then this red candle is inside the big green candle, hence why it is an inside day candle. And I said that we're likely going to see a break above and potentially more upside, which is something that we got today. Today market gapped up and then sold off. So if you go to SPY, you'll see market gapped up overnight, breaking through that resistance and highest point of that red candle from this day. And after that, it sold off, retested this level. You can see kind of, I just drew that line, but you can see that that line is literally where the SPY today bounced off of, which is very, very interesting, right? This specific line right here is the highest point of the red candle that SPY created on the daily chart. And where did today's candle bounced off of? Exactly at that spot. And that is a big deal, because that means that we came down after gapping up, we filled gaps, we tested this big support level, and we held it, and we bounced off of it, and we went back up. That is a big deal, because what that means is that as long as this support holds, we have the potential to kind of run towards that 550 level, which is what I was talking about yesterday. I wanted to see if we could get this 550 level as the next target. And of course, what would happen is, let's say tomorrow or later this week, we keep this uptrend going in the market, right? You draw a nice little uptrend right here. We keep this uptrend going in the market, and we somehow break the high of this green candle. If that happens, what we get is obviously 548 is the breakout level. 548 area breaks, we start going into 550, and then there's a little bit of a gap to fill up until 555 or 554, basically around there. So you got a nice bit of a 5 to 7 point gap that the SPY can fill, and that is something to look forward to, because you can actually sculpt it if that does happen. However, I do think 550 is going to be a very difficult level to kind of break through. It is, a tough spot, and getting through that level is going to be pretty difficult in my opinion. But if we do break through using this trend line and holding above this trend line, then you're going to see a very strong push into maybe even the 560, 565, so on and so forth, which in turn would probably be a downtrend reversal, because we do have a downtrend line right here that the market is overall building. And if we can ever get above that downtrend line, then we're kind of getting out of this bearish move that we have had for the past month or so, and kind of shift towards a more bullish trend. Maybe, I don't know what's gonna happen. It all comes down to Trump, right? If he comes out tomorrow and slams more tariffs, market's going to react in a negative way. But we're kind of getting to a point where these tariff news aren't creating massive volatility like we saw over here. It's market's kind of getting used to it. Market's kind of pricing in the negativity of it. But again, we'll see. Maybe if Trump, the only thing I can think of is Trump maybe reverses his decisions, comes to a deal with China and all the other countries that he's putting tariffs on, lowers tariffs and so on and so forth. That will create a huge spike in the market, and we can play the volatility on the upside. But for tomorrow and heading into the rest of the week, I'm looking at this SPY 550 level. I want to see if we can get through that 550, at least get to 550, and then break through and run above and get some profit out of that. For tomorrow, I also want to kind of focus on this 545 level right here that we kind of went up to today and didn't really break through. So if we can get above 545, let's say tomorrow, I would like to long some call options, get to 548, 550, and then over 550 we can see more upside and see maybe we can get to 555 for the gap fill and so on and so forth. VIX is going to be important. VIX did come down to $30 today, so I want to see if VIX can maybe break 30 and start heading down. Obviously you can see I have a lot of lines. These are just the support and resistances that VIX play out, so I just play off of these levels. These are levels that I've drawn for a long time ago, and we're just playing off of them. But basically that $30 level is going to be really, really important. If that $30 level breaks, we start seeing towards 27s and maybe 25s, which would be really interesting. But if the $30 level holds and we start bouncing back up into the 35s and 40s and 50s, then we're going to see another probably shift on the market towards the downside, and that's something that we should probably keep an eye on just in case. Probably news based, but just in case. The other thing I want to kind of look at, app, I talked about it yesterday and it did pretty well today. Big red day on it, and it just feels very weak. I wanted to push, but it just doesn't have the momentum. Even with the market bouncing back up today or gapping up today, this stock just didn't do anything, and it just feels very bearish. So maybe there's a potential bounce tomorrow for a push if it really wants to do this inverse head and shoulder it's building. But if not, we'll see if it breaks below 230s and start heading back towards 200, maybe under 200 we can short it down, and maybe short some more and see if we can get it down towards 180s and 170s. I mean, I'm definitely going to be watching this closely to see if we can get a play on it. And yeah, I mean, if in case it does want to do this beautiful looking inverse head and shoulder right here, it still is possible, right? Tomorrow could be a bounce day for it to go back up and do this inverse head and shoulder. You got your shoulder, you got your head, you got your shoulder right here. It's building the second shoulder, so you could use this as the next leg up and push. So that's something to very you should keep an eye on it and be ready for it just in case. The final thing is I want to kind of quickly go over Nvidia here. Now, Nvidia did drop today after gapping up big, and rightfully so, profit taking. What I want to see is this level on Nvidia break, and it's the level to watch out for, right? And that is the 115 level. If tomorrow or later this week we break this 115, that's a guaranteed long. You want to go long on it, and you want to play the upside move. The other thing I want to point out is we did kind of started turning in the EMAs. So you see the red EMA right here, red EMA cloud. It was bearish as it was going down, and then we started shifting towards that green. Today was a little bit of a green move on the EMA. So the EMA is kind of curling, and usually when the EMA goes from red to green, you tend to have a more of an upside move. So there is likely a potential move to the upside if this uptrend on Nvidia holds. So drawing this uptrend is pretty nice. We got a nice little wedge slash flag starting to build, and I would say if we can break through that 115, that's a guaranteed long into I would say up to 118 to potentially 119, because you have a gap to fill here. That's a fair value gap, which is this red candle that we can maybe see that 115 break, get to 119, 120. So that's what I'm going to be looking at for Nvidia as well. All right, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe. And if you want to be part of the Discord, you can go ahead and sign up in the link in the descriptions below. We've had a really good day today. We played call and put. The call did not work, but the put went I think 130% or something. So the puts paid really well, and yeah, we made some good money on it. The puts paid way more than the calls. This is the past 4 weeks of trading, and you can see a really good win rate. 37 wins, 11 losses, and yeah, we'll just keep this going, keep this pace, and continue to make more money. So if you want to be part of the group, link will be in the descriptions below. I'll see you guys. Bye bye. Peace.